Well, folks, the drama surrounding the boxes of White House documents down at Mar-a-Lago continues to increase, and it was revealed at the end of last week, Friday evening, that the boxes that Donald Trump took from the White House were actually being stored in his private, personal Mar-a-Lago suite. So why is that important? Well, last week, talking about this scandal, I explained it could be, obviously, because, we got to examine all possible possibilities here. It could have been that somebody else brought the documents down to Mar-a-Lago, right? Maybe somebody grabbed them up when they were moving out of there. There's lots of different scenarios that could have played out where there was really no intent to break the law. And intent is what you have to have if you want to charge anybody with a crime in this particular instance. But now that we know these were stored in Donald Trump's personal suite, you can no longer divorce his knowledge of it from the action itself. So even if he was not the one who personally, physically removed the boxes, which I have a hard time imagining him moving anything, he knew they were there. And then at that point, whether or not he knew that was illegal becomes irrelevant. You knew these things were here. In fact, according to these reports, he told his aides, do not touch those boxes. So he knew what was in there. So he can't even claim ignorance on that. He told them, again, according to these reports, don't touch these boxes. So he knew how sensitive the information was. He obviously didn't want anybody to find out what was in those boxes. So a lot of his defenses at this point just completely fell apart. One, he can't say he didn't know the boxes were there, dude. They were pretty much in your bedroom. Two, you can't say you didn't know what was in there because you were telling people do not touch them. I don't know about you, but to me that kind of seems like Merrick Garland needs to get off his ass and do something now, right? Here we are a week after this story originally broke. So actually I think we're like 8 days past. Not once yet has the DOJ come out and even made a statement. All we know so far is that the National Archives did in fact reach out to the DOJ a little while back and said, hey, he's got all these boxes that he's not supposed to have down at Mar-a-Lago. That's illegal. What do you want us to do? And the DOJ kicked it back to them and they said, why don't you have your Inspector General look at it? So technically at this point, the DOJ has already basically said, we don't want to be involved at that point. So what we have to do now is this pressure campaign. Much like getting Nancy Pelosi to finally get on board with banning stock trades for members of Congress, we do have to hammer this every single day. We have to raise our voices about this, and we have to let it be known that the DOJ cannot just sit there and do absolutely nothing like they've been doing for the past year, while Donald Trump continues to get exposed for potentially breaking the law. And of course, just so everybody's aware, you have to say potentially, because if you come outright and say that he broke the law, that in fact is defamation and you can get sued for that. So just a little message, everybody be careful about how you phrase this. He has not been accused of anything. He has not been charged of anything. So he is not technically a criminal. We cannot say he definitively broke the law. All we can say is that the DOJ needs to be looking into this to determine if somebody did break the law and if that somebody was in fact Donald Trump. Because right now, all of the publicly available evidence sure as hell points to a lot of rule breaking by somebody that was living in Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago suite. This is Hattie. Hattie wants to know why you have not subscribed to our channel. You obviously like our videos, so do us a favor and subscribe.